Let's talk sports. This is the NFC North Show, and we're down a couple of guys today, but how you doing, Ryan?
I'm living, loving.
I mean, it was a rough weekend for you guys. It wasn't the worst loss of the weekend, though, so there is that.
Debatable.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess we'll open up with your team because, well, we're here. And, I mean, it wasn't a great game, but it's the off-the-field stuff that I'm more worried about with your team. And Fields calling out coaching and receivers. You know, you got a DC that's stepping down. You got the stadium isn't even good on defense. What we got going here, man?
So the off the field stuff last week completely blown out of proportion.
Sure.
I went back and I listened to Fields' comments, and it's typical media, you know, taking a small, tiny little bitty soundbite and stretching it so thin you could see through it. I'm a big Doctor Who fan, and you know, the second episode of the new Who, when it came out, there was a lady named Cassandra. She was stretched. She was just skin at that point because she had so many, just skin, and that's basically what they did with this, with the field stuff. Now the Alan Williams stuff, I don't know, but with Fields, you know, he had to go back and clarify, but like, I think it was blown out of proportion. And also, I mean, he's kind of right for the most part.
Yeah. I mean, they're not giving him any designed runs, and a guy that is one of the things he's best at is running.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know why you would cap yourself in the knees. Like, you know, like it's hard to explain, but I don't think that his comments were too out there. The Alan Williams stuff is really weird, and it's disturbing that the Bears brass has not come out and actually, you know, said anything.
That's the thing is I haven't seen any. I haven't seen consistent information about what actually is going on, other than he's leaving.
Same. I mean, there was some jagoff on Twitter that had sources, and
sure.
I won't repeat his name because he doesn't need
the publicity from it.
He doesn't need the publicity, but you know, he was on live streaming the game the other day on YouTube, so he's out there.
Yeah.
But I saw something here earlier. I'm going to look it up again. Sorry, I'm being a plumber tonight, so I'm a little less prepared.
No worries. We've all been there.
Homeownership, man, I tell you, it's
right?
The greatest.
Yeah, no, they say it's going to be fun, and then what they don't tell you is everything is broken all the time.
All the time. Yeah, yep. And it's all on you. You don't have a landlord.
Exactly. The only time it's cool is when you sell.
and even then, I don't know. Because then you have to buy another one, and that's pretty expensive right now.
It's true.
So the original story was that the FBI raided him, and the FBI raided Hallis Hall, and blah, blah, blah. And none of that happened.
Yeah, I was going to say that was disproven, right?
That was disproven. What it was is there was a forensic team, I don't know what you'd call it, vehicle, there at Hallis Hall when he resigned, but it had nothing to do with law enforcement. It was just a third-party company that came through to make sure that he's not taking, you know, Bears proprietary information with him. And with that, but I can't find the tweet or Zeet or whatever you want to call it now. It's lost out in the world, but it sounds like what it is he resigned due to conduct detrimental to the team, but it wasn't criminal. So the popular theory that was out there on the internet last week with the bad stuff does not seem to be true. I'm wondering if he got caught up in the gambling stuff too that seems to be going around in the NFL.
You know, it seems like they would have been upfront with that because they're really trying to put an emphasis on it. I was wondering if it was he got involved with a staffer or something.
That could be it too.
Right? Because that can get you moved out of a building without necessarily having a ton of headlines. But
Mhm.
I think if it's gambling, because they're just taking such a hard line on it, I think they would really be over the top, like, hey, this is not acceptable. We'll push you out of the building, kind of thing.
Yeah, I get that. The only thing I would push back on that is, like, this is a charter franchise. It's the Bears. They are, they were one of the main original teams.
True.
And
I mean, the Lions had a lot, right?
They did.
Had a lot of
They
guys
did.
fired and moved out.
But we still have our lineage.
True.
You know what I mean? Like Virginia, she's 1,000 years old, but her dad was the man. That was it's baby Virginia.
True.
And so there's still that, and the way that they run the team too, I feel like has that stink of legacy on it. And outside of that, though, just
that would explain the offense, actually.
Yeah, it's a lot of stinky offense, is what it is.
They still want it to be the '85 Bears, but the game has moved along a little bit.
They have, and George McCaskey still gets involved with hiring. So Poles was hired, and then 2 days later, Eberflus was hired. You can't tell me that that's not Poles' guy. You can't tell me that is Poles' guy, because there's no way that you're going to hire a head coach of a charter franchise in the third largest sports market in America in 2 days. That's just not happening. This is 100% a McCaskey, Polian, hire. And I put a video out on the BAM Sports Show YouTube, pretty in my feels after that game. It's about 10 minutes long, but I've calmed down. I've come back down to earth, and I'm a little more optimistic now. I'm optimistic in that maybe they're not really actually this bad, and it's just a tank job.
Yeah, I mean,
Poles didn't draft Fields.
Harrison.
Yeah, so I don't think that they're tanking to get a quarterback. I don't think that Caleb Williams is the target there. I think what they're hoping for is they get maybe another first-round pick. And this is just conjecture. This is coming out of my weed-addled brain. But
it's justifying it in your own mind.
What's happening. Creativity juice.
I got you.
But this is copium. It's 100% copium. This is what I have to tell myself to get through the rest of this season. I think they're hoping for another situation like they had last year when they had the first overall pick and they traded it. They got some extra draft capital. Yep. Obviously, we have a first-round pick this year. And you look at some of the quarterback needy teams out there that still should be pretty high picks to get. That's my hope. I would like to see them. They have 2 first rounds next this coming up draft. I'd like to see if they could add another, maybe.
So do you think they go after a guy like Harrison and trade down, or do you think they trade down altogether and they try and finally do something with that offensive line?
If they have a first overall, and it depends on how the 2 tackles seasons go for the rest, Fashanu with Penn State, and I think that's his last name. Big fella, or Joe Alt with Notre Dame. I think if either of those two have like world beater seasons, they would maybe consider going first pick for him for one of those two. Outside of that, I don't think that they would spend the first overall pick on Marvin Harrison Jr. I think that the Panthers are pretty bad too, and I really feel like the Bears will end up with like pick 1 and pick 3, pick 1 and pick 4. Yeah. I think the first 5 picks in the draft next year could be between 3 teams, with the Bears having 2, the Cardinals having 2, and then Colts, maybe Jets.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny though, because
Vikings.
The Cardinals are out there messing around trying to win games.
They have to. I don't think. Well, I take that back. They don't have to.
I mean, they've been
Kyler.
competitive in all 3 games.
They have been, which is, you cannot say that about the Bears.
Exactly.
I have not seen a lick of competitive fire in this team at all. I've already turned the page. I'm 2023. Okay, I did 2022 was a tank year. Okay, we got DJ Moore. We've moved on. I will be upset if they start winning a lot of games, because this is actually what is good for the team.
Sure.
I
mean, that is the biggest thing for the way you guys have been playing, which is why, before we got on air, I was like, I don't even know if you guys win a game. I mean, the most competitive you've been, you lost by 10.
Yeah.
I mean,
and we weren't even that competitive then. That was garbage time.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, man, based on the product we've seen on the field so far, I mean, this game coming up is your best shot.
And I honestly,
another terrible team that just got dunked on.
Oh man, what a loss!
I mean,
but what's actually messed up about that was I started the Jags in fantasy, and I had the Broncos defense on my bench for some reason. I don't know why. And the Broncos, they lost by 70, and they still scored more fantasy points than Jaguars defense.
Seriously?
Because they got a defensive touchdown.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
I was like, how?
I was, and it could just be in our league. We could have like some fucked up, messed up stuff. I don't know. But I'm gonna look ahead at the schedule here for the Bears. I went through this in my video. I broke it down week by week, and so we've got Denver at home.
Yep.
I honestly think we lose that one.
Me too. I think Denver isn't. I mean, I don't think anybody as bad as getting dunked on by 70 points.
That's a fluke.
Points is insane. Now, between the two of you guys, you gave up 111 points this weekend. So, I mean,
hell yeah,
that is amazing.
Yep.
But no, I think the Broncos are the better team.
Well, they gave up 70.
They sure did.
They gave up 70. They're on the road. They're 2.5 point favorites.
Yeah,
against the Bears. That tells you where we're at.
Yeah, you're not even getting the 3 points you are guaranteed at home.
Yeah,
like it's all bad.
And then we go to Washington. I don't think they're great, but I don't think they're as bad. I don't think they're as bad as the Bears. I honestly, I really do in my heart feel like the Bears are the worst team in the league, and it comes down to preparation and coaching for me. They're not coming out with any fire.
Yeah, I think your most winnable games that you have on your schedule really are against the Broncos, which I don't think you get it done.
Mm-hmm.
The following week against the Commanders. The Commanders have been super competitive.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know, unless they start letting Fields actually, move around a little bit. And then the Raiders, right? Because the Raiders don't have a quarterback. And then beyond that,
they didn't have a quarterback to start the year either.
I mean, they didn't, but they really don't now.
They really don't.
And then
Jared Stidham, is he still there?
No, he's with the Broncos.
Oh, well, there you go.
He is probably who ends up taking over when they finally sit Wilson down. And then the Saints, if it's Winston, you have a shot. If it's Carr, I think Carr cleans up.
Carr will be fine. It's an AC joint. He's got, what do we have? That's November 5th. We got over a month until that. He'll be fine.
Yeah. Oh, he'll play again before then. It's just whether or not he's still in the game by then.
True.
And then the Panthers, if it's Andy Dalton, you definitely lose.
That's true. Yeah. The Red Rocket.
Yeah. I mean, he
knows us.
Full backup. Yeah, exactly. And then beyond that, like everybody else, tough to say, because by the time you see the Cards, they have Kyler Murray back. The Falcons
He's juiced up to play too. You can tell that dude has listened to all the criticisms.
Yep.
And he's seen this team play, and he's getting beat out by Josh Dobbs right now. Fucking Megamind.
Exactly. Can't even buy his own jersey.
That's and Megamind is not that's not a detriment to him. Like he's a very very smart dude. He's got
Yep,
a degree in aeronautical engineering or something like that.
absolutely.
But they're playing competitive. That's the deal. Any one of these teams outside of maybe the Raiders are playing competitive football, and even the Raiders, Devontae Adams, got 40 something points in fantasy last night,
Yes.
and I we're not
Yeah,
going to
it's their
sniff
defense
that.
that can't. It's their defense that can't do anything. Like
Yeah.
The Raiders are the Raiders on defense. Like I don't know why they can't cultivate talent on that side, but they never can.
It's surprising that we went into the offseason with the number 1 overall pick, the most cap space in the league,
And got worse.
and we got worse.
That's what I don't understand about your team.
But I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be. It's your team.
Well, yeah, I physically I have to be, or I'll be in the nut house, and you'll have to look
Right?
for a Bears person for this show again.
I mean, if you're not optimistic, then that's where drinking problems come from.
Exactly.
Nothing like a sports team to make you finish off a case of beer.
Listen, I haven't had a drink in almost 8 years.
Okay.
Jameson sounds real good right now after watching the Bears. I'm looking ahead. Again, you got to be positive. You got to be future thinking. You can't let this shit franchise drag you down. The Bears have the second most cap space next year.
Yep.
We're gonna have 2 high draft picks. All right, this is Poles. Poles did not get a chance to hire his guy a head coach. Poles is, if you look past the hype and you look past, the noise out there, and you look at it as a rebuild, there's no way in hell that a team is rebuilt in one season. That's my fault. I bought into the hype. I'll be the first person to admit that. I bought into I wanted to. I had to.
Sure.
I think they have ruined Justin Fields, but that wasn't Poles' guy. He was already here. I had a conversation with my buddy Keith, who's on the BAM Sports Show.
If you think they have, do they go after a quarterback?
I don't think they should this coming up draft. Or if they do, I don't think it should be Drake May, Caleb Williams. I think they, maybe grab a guy like Penix in the second round.
Sure.
If he's there, a guy that, like, one of these guys that are coming out of nowhere or coming on strong late in their career.
Penix won't be there by the second round.
Probably not.
He's one of the favorites for the Heisman. Like, there's no way he ends up out of the first round. But
he won't win the Heisman.
Well, I don't think he wins it. But I mean, when you're in the conversation, you're generally a first round pickup, especially if you're in the conversation the year you're coming out.
Right. Well, think about teams that are QB needy. Bucks, Jets will be in a year. Vikings will be, because Cousins is gone.
The Jets are now.
Well, yeah, the Jets are now, but you spent the trade capital, you spent the capital. You gotta play out the Aaron Rodgers, because again, he gives you the best chance to win. I'll be very honest. When he's healthy, he gives you the best chance to win.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in that scenario, right? Because they didn't lose their first round because he didn't take enough snaps, right?
Right.
So they have their first round. If they just get bombed the rest of the way, they could go get a Penix and then have Rodgers come back, redshirt him, right? Learn behind Rodgers for a year, and then be your guy. Like they could potentially do that.
I think if they moved, and I don't think they'll have the number 1 pick. I think they've got some winnable games, and I do think that they will win some games this year.
Yeah, the defense will win them a couple of games.
Exactly. But I don't think they'll move and try to get I got quarterback rankings for the 2024 draft up here. I don't think they'll make a move for Caleb Williams, because I don't think that you spend that draft capital for that guy and then sit him for a year. No,
I mean, where do you think, like, what, they're going to have a top 10 pick?
Yeah,
So
so they go after Penix, they go after Shadur.
sure, like a Bo Nix or like
Hmm.
something like they could get one of those dudes around that area, and you could absolutely redshirt that guy because obviously Wilson's not the answer, right? He's proven time and time again he's not that dude.
Yep.
And then you have
He's proven
Rodgers.
it even more this year.
Yeah, man, it's bad. And then you have Rodgers for maybe next year, depending on how it heals, right?
I don't think he comes back. That's a
Me either.
really bad injury to come back from when you're 30, 39,
Yep.
38?
Yeah, he'll be 40, I think, sometime during this season.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
You've got some gray in your beard. I do too.
for sure.
We're older guys. We know we don't come back like that
No, I mean, stuff hurts all the time now.
all the time. I was eating a bowl of cereal and my shoulder started hurting. like I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny as you get older, things the names of things change. Like before, when you said Skittles, it was because you wanted some Skittles, and now it's it's probably ibuprofen. Let's be real.
Yeah. But you have to get the Advil. Shout out to Advil because they do have that sweet little coating on there. So, they're good. I've pulled up a mock draft.
Okay.
Always good when you're in September and you're looking at mock drafts for 2024. Your team is doing good things. They have the Jets on here picking 17th and going for an offensive tackle, which is smart. Anytime you can beef up your line, that's smart.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're gonna be picking that late. Like that seems.
I don't think so. That seems really late.
That seems really late. I'm assuming that was either before Rodgers got hurt or
right after,
or like the game that he got hurt. They're like
Tuesday, September 13th. So it was like right after he got injured.
Okay, so yeah, it would have been. So Wilson came in and won that game, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, basically.
Yeah.
But so I'm doing this to look at like what these people think what quarterbacks will be available after. Sure. And you got Spencer Rattler out there, South Carolina, KJ Jefferson, the quarterback at Arkansas. I would be fine with either of those two guys in the second round. I think you spend your first two, you get a tackle, you get Marvin Harrison, bing, bang, boom. All right, you fix that. And I don't think you have to go necessarily towards drafting your defensive line. D-line is pretty beefy this coming up draft. Wide receiver is this is one of the greatest wide receiver classes in recent memory. But there's a lot of defensive talent that's going to be hitting free agency, and they've got, again, second most money, second most by like $100,000 behind the Patriots. So it's, I think we're still in a good spot. But you need those high picks. You need those high picks to build a team, and you're not going to do it with one off season. And so I say, hey, let's tank. Let's make this rough. Let's make it bad. Eberflus, Getsy, not the guys. Let Poles get his dude in. Hopefully his dude is somebody like the offensive coordinator in Detroit, Ben Johnson, or honestly, he's been in the league for a long time, Darrell Bevel. He's down in Miami. He's the quarterback's coach down there right now. He's won a Super Bowl calling plays offensively. I think he's a really talented play caller. I wouldn't mind seeing Ben Johnson get the call to be a head coach, and then they bring Darrell Bevel up to be our offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
I think at that point you're giving
another shot. It's like we didn't love him in Seattle, but
he helped win you a Super Bowl.
He did. The thing that's funny is he's actually a really smart OC until he gets comfortable with your guys. Like if he will get very vanilla and play a very small window of things. But if he starts getting guys hurt, you actually see his ability to do his job. So I'm not really sure why he can't stay in that area, because when he's trying to figure out how to make the pieces he does have work, super smart. When he has all his pieces, it is some of the most boring play calling. You're like, we have all this talent. What are you doing?
Yeah, but
So
you gotta.
some very real frustration with Bevel.
I wonder if being around this younger talent down in Miami maybe changes them a little bit. I can hope. That's all I can do is hope.
True.
You know,
True.
I have to look towards the future.
I do like that you went from 2 weeks ago, like, here we go, to embrace the suck.
Yeah. Listen, I'm a realist. I got real bummed out. I see they're playing the worst kind of football right now where like, okay, we can all see that you're just trying to lose. It is what it is, but you're not being competitive. There's no spark, no fire on this team.
No, it actually legitimately looks like the guys have given up.
Yeah.
Like after the first quarter, like no, there's no excitement anywhere on the field, on the sideline, trying to hype each other up. Like there's nothing. Like most of your sidelines sitting down.
And I understand you're going up against the Chiefs. It's Patrick Mahomes and blah blah blah. But come on, man, don't you at least want to like try?
Pride
try.
Points, right? Like
just try.
Yeah, I mean, you figure if the team isn't good, you at least want some of your own tape to be good for when you're no longer on this team.
Now, I will say Fields did play better. He had some smart decisions. It's just DJ Moore dropped one of the best Justin Fields passes. It was literally just right there in the breadbasket, and he just dropped it. It was perfectly played. I don't think you could throw a ball more perfect than that. Like, he didn't even have to adjust. He just put his hands out, and it just landed right where it was supposed to. And he bobbled it and dropped it. And then Chase Claypool, I don't think it was the greatest throw, but it was a good decision by Fields. And I think if Chase would have jumped a half a second later, he high points that ball. It's his. Now we're moving. He made some smarter decisions running. There's still no scripted running plays,
which doesn't make sense.
Don't get. Is he? I wonder if he's hurt. Maybe that's why. Maybe he's banged up, but he doesn't look like it when he takes off.
Yeah, he doesn't look like it, and he's not on an injury report. And
right.
The NFL, they don't mess around. Like if you got someone that's hurt and you don't put them on the injury report, the fines they get for that is
that's true.
Next level. So I don't see a team hiding that. In fact, as bad as they're playing, you would think they'd almost highlight that, be like, "Oh, he's playing injured. That's why we look bad."
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Oh yeah, no, it's because our world-class quarterback has his hamstring is tight.
Yeah, that's why if you're a coach that wants to keep their job, that's the way I would be angling it. Be like, "Oh no, like all 53 guys are
hurt." They all have dysentery.
They are losing the Oregon Trail right now.
Speaking of, there's a clip from a college football game last weekend that is my favorite football clip I've ever watched, and it's an offensive lineman. He's walking up to the line, vomiting.
Oh, I saw that.
Spraying out of his mouth, and then he just lines up and he does the next play.
Yeah, it was projectile too. Like it was a hose. Yeah, no, it was some replacements type shit.
It was spectacular. It's a great clip.
Yeah, no, I saw that too. It was pretty amazing. Well, I suppose we should touch on the rest of the guys.
Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to spend a half an hour bitching about the Bears. And
I mean, honestly, we were going to. Because there's so much wrong with the Bears right now.
Oh wait, but I do have another bright spot.
What's that?
All right, he got beat because by Chris Jones once, but Darnell Wright, our rookie right tackle, looking pretty good.
Yeah,
he's a dude.
The other concern I have for you guys is not only it's not competitive. You guys don't have the ball very often, and you're still turning it over 2 times a game.
Yep.
I mean, that's just insult to injury. Like you already aren't winning the time of possession battle, and then you can't keep a hold of the ball either. Oh,
My camera does. I got a new camera, and it doesn't stay on for that long. Sorry.
oh, I got you. Yeah, DSLRs will do that.
Good old DSLRs.
Yep.
Whoops.
Yep.
I forgot to set a timer for that.
Well,
Anyways.
at least yours doesn't have the ring. One of mine, so I have a couple of them that I can go from, and one of them leaves your information ring. There's no way to get it off if you live stream through it.
Really?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
It was super annoying. So I have
I'm hoping to get it
do it with, but
I'm hoping to buy a different camera here in the next year or so to do it with. I like the quality of the DSLR though. It's a lot better than just a webcam.
yeah. So
Kind of a pain in the butt though.
what I use is a Canon XA45, so it's a true video camera.
Oh, nice. And that stays on.
Yeah, it stays on. It has the ability to be permanent powered or battery. So if I'm doing an interview off site or something, it can either be battery or
plug it in.
Yeah, so it's and then you can have XLR mics plugged straight into it. So you don't necessarily have to bring your soundboard. You can run the mics straight into the camera.
Yeah, I might have to look into something like that.
Yeah, it's nice, especially if you don't get to record in the same place all the time.
Yeah. Going to the interceptions and the turnovers on the Bears. Again, still talking Bears. Let's talk Bears. That's what this show is. So the interception from Fields, was a great decision by Fields to throw that ball. It was an even better play by Justin Reed.
Sure.
Those happen. I'm not upset about that at all. That is a great player making a great play. The fumble.
The fumbles.
The fumble is inexcusable.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is half of the turnovers have been fumbles. I mean, interceptions, like they can be tipped or it can be a great play or whatever, but a fumble, that's on you every time. Hold on to the ball. I mean, even if it's a good play by a defender, if you're protecting the ball, it doesn't happen. Outside of somebody placing a helmet on it, I don't care.
Yeah, if you get punched.
Yeah.
You know.
But, so yeah, it's, no, there's a lot. I mean, I guess if nothing else, this is the most winnable game for you in the near future, though.
Should be. I think it's the most winnable game on our schedule moving forward because I'm not even sure the Panthers game is that winnable.
It just depends on if Bryce is back by then.
Yeah.
Because if Bryce is back, I haven't loved what I've seen.
How about that CJ Stroud, though?
Yeah, Stroud's showing out.
He's looking pretty good. He's already got twice as many 300-yard passing games as Justin Fields. Sad. It's sad. It's sad.
Yeah, no, Stroud is showing out, and I mean that Texans team is going to be tough next year. Mm-hmm. It's they're gonna surprise a couple people this year, but they're not quite there. They have another decent offseason. That's going to be a tough team. Unfortunately
for them, they are without a first-round pick.
True. Yep.
So
they gave that one to the Cards.
Yep.
They do have other draft capital though, so
they do. They just don't have their high first.
Yeah. But I mean, still that's part of the rebuild process, right? Which is probably kind of what it is you're looking at.
Yep.
Near as I can tell, I really thought you guys were going to take a step forward this year, but
we all did. Everybody did.
On paper, you should have. Paper, you should have.
Yeah,
now, I didn't have the hype at the beginning of the season where, that first game, they're like, oh, Fields is amazing. It's like, okay, he threw for -1 air yard. Let's calm down. Screen.
Oh,
we knew he could throw to the flat, okay? Like, everyone can throw. We could throw to the flat.
I would be concerned if he couldn't throw to the flat.
Exactly. So, yeah. No, it's... but, yeah, so the other winless team in the division, the Vikings, they've at least been competitive.
Yeah.
They have basically just come up on the other side of how they won games last year. It's been one possession. They've come up short, and it's looked like the Vikings that we've always come to know and love is they're going to put up a ton of yards. Mm-hmm. They're going to be competitive, and they're going to come up just short. So last year looks like it was the aberration we all kind of assumed it was.
Yeah.
And now they're back to doing what they do. Although I will say the 9 turnovers in 3 games is insane.
It's concerning. To touch on that, if I'm the Vikings, if I'm their GM, I am on the phone nearly daily between the Raiders and the Colts to see what it would take to get either Josh Jacobs or Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Because I think that you put a running game, like a legit, not Alexander Butterfingers, put a legit running game with that team, and they are going to be dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with them is they don't even try and run. So,
I mean, Madison had 93 yards on
Last
20
game.
carries
yeah.
last game.
So the thing that's funny about that, so he had 20 carries last game.
Mm-hmm.
He had 19 through the first 2.
Yep.
You're not going to score a lot, or you're not even going to get in a rhythm averaging less than 10 carries a game. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, even elite runners of the ball don't generally get really getting momentum until after they've carried the ball at least 10 times. I mean, even amazing guys like Adrian Peterson, right?
You have to get that build up.
Yeah, like, you got to wear some guys down. You got to make them not want to hit you. I mean, everybody's ready to come up and make a play the first 5 to 10 times you carry the ball. You have to remind them that it hurts to tackle a running back. Then all of a sudden, they're easier to break those tackles because they don't come up square anymore. They're kind of making a business decision that you can get out of. I mean, that's why you give him 20 carries, and now he has a nice, a productive running game. So, I mean, now granted, the first 2 games, they were behind right away and were essentially playing catch up, but you can't abandon the running game altogether.
No, and you have to also use your running game with your passing. Like, running backs can catch passes now.
For sure.
They can do it's legal in football.
It is.
I don't know if they know that, but it's legal.
Well, and it's funny, right? Because Madison can catch. Like, he's not a terrible receiving running back. He's not the best, but like he can catch. They pick up Akers. Akers can catch. We'll see how that works out. But I mean, there's guys that have been available that I don't understand why you didn't make a play for them. I mean, imagine if they would have gone after Kareem Hunt before he gets picked back up.
I thought they would have. Yeah,
because that would be an amazing back in that offense because he can provide some pass protection.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Because he's a good blocking back, then all of a sudden those nice little leak out plays where he, stunt blocks and fades out to a flat or something, that's a very viable pass.
Well, yeah, you think about that too. Maybe Madison runs it for 4 yards, okay? Then you bring Hunt in for pass pro, dump it off to him. That's an easy 6-7 yards. There's your first down.
Absolutely, because who are you covering him with? You're covering him with a slot or an outside linebacker.
At one point, going back to the Bears, at one point, the Chiefs had more first downs than the Bears had offensive plays.
Yeah, I know.
In that game.
That's brutal.
While we're talking, I'm always interested in looking at like point differentials.
Yeah.
We're 3 weeks in now.
Yep.
We haven't scored the least amount of points. We've scored 47. The Giants have scored 43. Titans 45. Bengals 46. Very surprising. And the Jets 42. But our point differential is the worst in the league at negative 59.
Really?
We have given up 59 more points than we have scored.
How are the Broncos not worse than that?
Surprisingly,
right? Because they were down 50.
They're minus 53.
Wow, were the first 2 games really that close?
Yeah, man. Yeah. They've given up 122 points, but again, 70 of that's in one game.
Yeah.
The Bears, on the other hand, have given up 106, spread out pretty evenly across 3 games.
That's true. That is rough, man. Uh, so
2024, baby.
No, I mean, it makes sense. You got to make that shift. The other thing the Vikings can't seem to do is convert on third down at all. So if it comes up to a third down, that drive's basically over. It's I mean, it's another team that just isn't really doing anything right. But and then of course you got Green Bay that I have to admit is playing better than I thought they were going to. Now, this game that they won against the Saints, I mean, the Saints losing a quarterback and falling apart is more to do with it than them coming back and winning that game.
By the way, real quick, Minnesota, 42.11% conversion on third down. They're the 12th best team in the league on third down conversions.
Really?
Jets all the way at the bottom at 21%.
Well, 21% makes sense for the Jets because they don't have a quarterback. But,
yeah, that's true. Or a running game.
Yeah, I mean,
they don't have an offense.
No, exactly.
They have one side of the ball.
They do, and they better hope they score a lot. Yeah, because I mean, in the game that against the Chargers, they were 4 of 14 on third down. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. They got a lot to clean up, but they're competitive. So I mean, I don't know. I guess there's two ways to look at that, right? If you're competitive and you still lose, then I guess it's okay because
I would be happy with that.
Pick. But if you're competitive and you win a couple of them, then it's a bummer because you're that 500 where you're not getting.
You're in the Jeff Fisher zone.
Yeah, right. Like you're not gonna build your team. You're too good to get better, and you're not good enough to compete.
The Jeff Fisher zone.
Yep.
I think he is the most mediocre coach of all time. I really do. I think that his coaching record, it might even be like 500.
I mean, it's probably
512.
It's 512.
It's 339 games. He's 173 and 165 with one tie.
The one thing, if I were to bring Fisher in to do anything, would be as a special teams coach, because things he does on special teams is ridiculous. The rest of his coaching, but if you could bring him in as a special teams coach, all day, every day.
Do you think if he would have gone for his true life's calling, he would have had a better successful career? And do you know what his true life's calling should have been?
Huh.
I mean, just look at him. He looks like an old NASCAR racer. He looks like he should have raced race car. He should have been a NASCAR guy.
You're not wrong. Yeah, I mean, that would have been interesting.
Right?
Especially in the era he would have raced in, right? Because he would have been in the 80s and 90s probably. So when he would have got his start, which was the heyday for NASCAR anyway.
You could have seen Jeff Fisher versus Dale Earnhardt, the battle of the mustaches.
That would have been fun to watch, I'm not going to lie. Although he'd have probably got beat up by like Kenny Schrader or something.
Yeah, probably. Mark Martin puts him in the wall.
Exactly. Yep. That would be awesome to see, though. I'm not gonna lie, that'd be pretty great. That'd be pretty rad.
I'm a big '90s NASCAR guy. I watched it with my dad a lot growing up. It was good. Never been a Jeff Gordon fan just because we have the same birthday, but outside of that, I don't watch it anymore.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in years. I thought they really kind of ruined the sport, but I watched it a lot in the late '80s, early '90s. Yeah. Earnhardt was still around. Gordon came in
when Rubbin was racing.
Absolutely, right. And you had Martin and Waltrip and Ricky Rudd and all those guys. So yeah, no, I used to watch a ton back then, and then the sport evolved. I really didn't like when it went to the playoff thing.
Yeah,
it didn't rotate at all. So basically, you had to be good at one track all year, and then if you were good at the end of the year, you could win a championship. And I was like, well, that's just dumb. Like, if you're going to do it, at least move the tracks around so it doesn't just lend itself to a couple of guys that are just good at racing those tracks.
Yeah, exactly. It's I think they're gonna probably change it a little bit. I got a guy I work with is a big NASCAR guy,
Mm.
and he's pretty excited about how they're going to be moving next year with some changes and
Are they going to get
new
rid of the
car.
They can get rid of the stage races
I don't know.
because now they don't even run the whole like Bristol, right? Like I always wanted to go to Bristol. I mean, it's just a car wreck.
Yeah, it's a circle.
Right? Like it's a half a mile. It's 43 cars. Like it's a recipe for disaster, and you can see the whole race from there. Right?
Yeah.
So, like it would be awesome to watch. And now it's stage races, so it's actually 3 races to complete the race.
That's so dumb. They need to get rid of that.
Yeah, it's
like so bad.
It's so bad. Like I can't even watch it anymore. It makes me sad because I did used to really like the sport, years ago.
I will say it was cool when they raced at the Coliseum.
Yeah.
That was a dirt track too, wasn't it? In LA?
Was it dirt?
I know they did a dirt race recently.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I don't remember where that was. I forgot that they did a dirt track. I didn't actually watch that race, but I remember them doing it.
I watch clips. I don't have time to sit down and watch a whole race. I barely have time to sit down and watch a whole football game.
Yeah, right.
Baseball is a lot easier now. Baseball's gotten really good with time. I can watch a whole baseball game, no problem.
Yep.
Anyways,
all right.
I've been hemming and hawing trying to keep you away from the Packers.
Yeah, so I mean they're good. Like I don't think they're as good as their record shows.
No.
So I think they're gonna come back to earth a little bit playing the Lions this week. Obviously the Lions took down the Falcons, no problem. And I think they take down Green Bay. I mean, this Lions team looks like they're the team everyone assumed they were going to be.
They do.
They should win this division fairly easily. Well, fairly easily now, anyway. But Green Bay, when they play some of the tougher teams, they're going to come up short.
Yeah, that was 18-17, and it really relied on them having a dirty hit on Derek Carr.
Yep.
Nobody can tell me otherwise. That was a dirty hit. You watch it live, you watch it slow-mo, it was a dirty hit. I don't like when you wrap a quarterback up and he's defenseless and you slam your whole body down on him. That's bullshit. Yep. They barely beat the Saints with Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
They're one of the teams that I consider a paper tiger.
Yeah, they're a pretender for sure.
Yeah. The Lions, though, they do look like. I mean, they look like the real deal. I mean, I picked them to win the division. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they make a ton of noise in the playoffs.
No.
The Lions, to me, feel like they're still missing elements on the defensive side of the ball. And so I mean, the offense obviously can score, right? They could score last year.
A little worrisome with Monty down.
True. But, I mean, they still find ways to get in the end zone. So, I mean, we'll see. But it's the defense that is still a big concern for me.
Right.
Now, they're not the worst team in the league like they were last year. But the step forward isn't as big as I thought it was going to be this year based on some of the elements they brought in. I thought it was going to be a little bit better defensively. Not that they're horrible by any means, but I was expecting a little more out of that unit. Do I think they get past Green Bay? Sure. But when they play some of the tougher teams in the NFC, that'll be the real litmus test to what these guys can do in the postseason.
Is there a team right now in the NFC that you feel comfortable calling like the team in the NFC? I think it's pretty handily the Dolphins in the AFC right now, especially after you just showed you can drop 70 points.
I mean, especially without Waddle. Like, you don't have a full complement of guys.
Yeah. Golly, that's a fast team.
It is incredibly fast. Yeah, I mean, so for me, I would say the team that's playing the best football in the NFC is the 49ers.
Yeah.
They seem to be the most buttoned up team really in the NFL. Now, I know that Dolphins offense put a ton of points out, but their defense isn't amazing. I mean, they beat up on a Broncos team that struggles to move the ball. So, I mean, I can't put too much stock into, them being able to put up 50-plus points every week. We'll see how they do against, the Bills this week, right?
Right.
They're coming off of a beatdown, and they're going to go into a team that has a decent defense.
So this is, I think this is probably my game of the week, and I think the Bills actually end up winning that one. And I'm looking at the differential here. The Dolphins differential after scoring 70 points is plus 59.
Yep.
The Bills is plus 56.
Yeah.
And the difference is the Dolphins have given up 71. The Bills have only given up 35 through 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think that
they lost one of those games.
Huh?
And they lost one.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
I think that the Bills end up winning it, but I think it's going to be a very interesting game. Very fun to watch.
Yeah, so I have the Bills winning that too. I mean, I look at huge games like that kind of different. So whether it's a huge blowout win or it's an emotional comeback from behind, it is really tough to carry that same energy into the next week. And a lot of times, if you have one of those victories, whether you just really ran past somebody or you gave it everything you had to have some late game comeback to win, you almost always lose the next week. So, and in this game, I think the Bills are at home, and I think they're a 3-point favorite.
Yeah.
So
it's right. They should be. They've got one of the better defenses in the league.
Exactly, and I think that's where the Dolphins end up coming up short. Is they just don't have the same amount of talent on the defensive side of the ball, and even though Josh Allen is absolutely going to throw a pick during this game, I don't think it'll be enough to make it a Bills loss because the Bills defense is good enough to get a turnover from 2 also.
Yeah, and they play this team twice a year.
Yep.
They've played this team twice a year. They know what to look for. They know that they're a fast team, so they're going to probably just play a little deeper. They're going to play a few steps back, so they're not being beat constantly. It'll be fun. The Bills have actually given up the second least amount of points. The least amount.
That's
the
crazy.
Cleveland Browns with my pick for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
I like Myles Garrett a lot.
I mean, I'm with you. I went the TJ Watt route, but
yeah,
that would have been my next pick.
I think a lot of people pick TJ Watt. I don't know. That clip of Myles Garrett dancing before he rushed the passer.
Oh, that was amazing.
Or no, he was dribbling. He was
practicing the crossover and then did a crossover to get by the guy.
That's
worse. Like he's showing you what he was going to do.
He's having fun playing defensive. What is he, a tackle or is he an end? I think he's an end, right?
No, I think he's a tackle because he does generally have somebody outside him.
Either way,
I think he could line up anywhere, really.
He's on a whole nother level this year, it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's definitely, I feel like it's going to come out between those two guys.
Left defensive end is what they have him down as on the in their base.
I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, between him and Watt, it'll be a race for that award. I don't really see anyone else as truly in that conversation besides those guys.
Yeah.
At least this season. But
so who do you got? Who you picking in this Packers Lions Thursday night hullabaloo?
I got the Lions.
Yeah,
I got
same.
the Lions in this win. It just, I don't think there's enough to this Green Bay team yet. I like elements of their game, but they're not a complete team, and I just think Detroit is a little bit more complete overall.
I'm with you there.
It is crazy thinking that there are 4 0-3 teams, and they all play each other this week.
That's wild.
Right?
That's really crazy.
I mean, That's the only thing I could think would be hilarious for the Bears and the Broncos is
To
if
tie. Oh God, that'd be so funny.
because
I'd
then
be here for it.
do you even get a win? I mean, you wouldn't have a 0 on your, win percentage, right? Because you do get something for a tie,
That's true.
but you don't have a win.
See, I'm rooting hard for the Vikings this weekend because also I think that they can beat the Panthers. If you can't beat the Panthers, then you might as well just shutter the whole team.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they have to be able to beat the Panthers, except Andy Dalton will come out and surprise you sometimes.
That's true. That is true.
I mean, he put up decent numbers against my Seahawks. Like they, it wasn't like
he made it a game.
He did. It's not like it was a cakewalk. They didn't run that team over. I actually think they did better because Dalton was in than had Bryce Young been playing.
I still think Bryce Young is going to be fine. I think his career will be fine. I think he's a good quarterback.
I just don't think he was ready for that team first year.
No. He definitely needed a red shirt year.
Yeah. I think Anthony Richardson honestly did, although he looked better in those first couple games before he got hurt than I thought he was going to. But I thought he was another guy that needed to redshirt. But, I mean, he definitely stepped up his accuracy between preseason and regular season.
Yeah, they schemed a lot more open stuff for him, and then they just got to get that running out of him. Or they got to, like, hey, don't put it all on your shoulders. Dial it back. We like you running, but we also like you playing.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, your best ability is availability.
Exactly. Now, I know that there's probably a contingency of Bears fans out there who are assholes that want Justin Fields to get hurt so they can see Tyson Bagent get in. I am not one of those. I still want to see another year of Fields because I'm not on him as much. The shine has definitely worn off, but I still think you don't give up on him. You have one more year of his rookie deal. You got a lot of draft capital. You got a lot of capital again. Maybe you get a competent coach in there and he unscrews those wires and then he's playing like when he was a rookie, just confident and ripping it.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, I don't know. There's so many things to fix on that team at this point. And it's not just personnel, right? Like, it's not players. It's like there's coaching that clearly is not right. Like there's a lot wrong going on in Chicago right now.
Yeah, and again, that's why I go back to I have to believe that it's planned this way. I gotta believe that because 2 years of terrible Bears football. If we can draft well next year and we pay people the money that they need to be paid, hey, we're back in contention if we do it right.
Yeah.
I want to see Poles get his guys in. Yeah, Let your GM hire his dudes.
I mean, you need that.
Yeah.
I mean, we already saw how this played out when the Broncos sold, right? And they inherit a coach they didn't want. They inherit a quarterback they didn't want. And it's been hot trash since that whole thing has come together. And you can't even fault ownership. Like, they've been willing to spend a ton of money.
Yep.
So, I mean, that hasn't been the issue. And then, of course, there's the whole Sean Payton Wilson dynamic. Like, not only do I think Payton doesn't like him as a football player, like, I'm not convinced he even likes him as a human.
I'm so confused about that whole thing too. It's just, if he doesn't like him, then why would you come out of retirement and try to coach him? You know what I mean? Like, that he's going to be there for years.
Yeah, well,
they gave him a lot of money.
They gave him a lot of money. The thing is they bring in Stidham, and Sean Payton likes Stidham. Like, he went and got him. And, So then you look at it as, is he just giving Wilson enough rope to hang himself here? I mean, Wilson's been playing better since he got there, right? So the offense is scoring 6 more points a game than it was before Sean Payton got there. So that side of the ball is getting better.
Yeah.
The defense has taken the defense has taken a significant slide, right?
Yeah.
Like the defense is really just falling apart, despite not losing a lot of pieces. So its demise doesn't necessarily make a ton of sense. But, you have to think that at this point, because he's nitpicking him over stupid stuff like kissing babies and just like, why does this even matter? And so if he's that worried about it, then you have to think at some point, especially if they keep losing, even if it's not entirely Wilson's fault, he'll sit him down and put his guy in just to see if it's a spark to change something.
I will give you I'll give you 107 million reasons why they don't do that.
So the thing that's funny about that is Sean Payton comes from that Pete Carroll type of mindset of always compete.
Yeah.
And if you remember how Wilson got the job, Matt Flynn was paid $17 million and never took a snap.
That is true.
So, if they want the best guy to get him a win, now you can't get rid of him, right? The dead cap would be insane.
Yeah, that was the dead cap number for this year. It's 85 next, 49.6 the year after that. Their potential out is in 2026 with still $31 million.
So if he doesn't like Wilson enough, right? So obviously he's playing all of this year, right? Or
has to,
or whatever, right? Or even if Stidham starts, he's on the roster, and then he would be on the roster next year unless somebody traded for him. But he has 2 years of bad tape, so I don't see anybody doing that. But then that third year, right, at 46 mil, that's not too dissimilar to how the Eagles got rid of Wentz, right? They ate $44 million for him to just go away.
That's true.
They're like, you know what? Trade us a pack of Big Red and get this guy out of our building.
We have a soda machine in our mezzanine
exactly.
in the north end zone.
If you could fill it with Shasta, we don't even want name brand
Give
stuff.
me Fago. I'm cool.
Right?
Dr. Thunder.
Matter. Just whatever gets him out of the building, we'll even pay all the money. Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting because he plays out this year, which is the first year of that new contract. And then he's on the roster next year, whether they use him or not. And then after that, I mean, $40 million for a team that really doesn't want you is a rounding error.
Now, isn't that team now owned by Walmart people?
Yes. So
I was gonna say they got all the money they could ever need. It was $40 million to them. Whatever.
That's exactly the thing, right? It's a rounding error. Like they don't care. Yeah. So it's So, I mean, I could see it if because Peyton has like a 10-year contract or something. Like his contract was crazy.
We are looking too right now at I think the narrative around Russell Wilson is so affected from Nathaniel Hackett last year. I'm looking at his stats through 3 games.
His numbers aren't bad.
His passing yards per game is 263.67, which is pretty good considering that his best season is 263.69 yards per game.
Yeah, well, I mean, just look at the game that they just got beat up in. He has almost the same stat line as Tua passing. Mm-hmm. Just instead of 4 touchdowns, he has 1 and a pick. But they're within 3 yards of each other. So that's it's
crazy to me.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not like he's played badly, but he's played in a way that they haven't gotten wins. And if you're watching the games, most of those yards came in the first half, and then he's fallen apart. So he plays pretty well in the first half, and then trails off for whatever reason. And so that is where I think there could be some coaching. Like if you already don't like the guy, you could dial in on something like that as a reason, some sort of cause to justify getting him off the field. Now, last week, I think he was actually relatively consistent, but the weeks before, he played better in the first half and then kind of fell off in the second. But yeah, I mean, if you're a coach grasping at straws to get a guy, even if he's just doing it to prove a point, like I'll bench the most expensive guy on this roster, y'all better get your shit together, something.
Fucking try me, I'll do it. Watch.
Right? I mean, he threatened the whole team if you get a false start to run around the whole stadium. So I mean, or the whole complex. So I mean, who knows how crazy he's willing to go.
That's true. And he's always got his career as a mall cop to fall back on. Sean Payton does.
Yeah, I mean, right?
Paul Blart, Denver Broncos head coach.
Oh man, yeah. I don't know. That's going to be another interesting team to watch. Like all four of these bottom teams are interesting in their own way, right? Like the Broncos because of the off the field stuff. The Bears because there's literally nothing they're doing right. The Vikings because they're finding ways to lose.
Yeah.
And then the Panthers, they're just young and, whatever. But
yeah, we kind of expected it.
Yeah, exactly. But the other three, like there are fundamental problems going on.
Out of the 4 0-3 teams, which one do you think is the most likely to have a shot at a playoff spot?
Oh, the Vikings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that the second best team out of those is the Broncos.
On paper,
yeah,
not in practice.
I mean, they lost 17-6, so they lost by 1.
Yep.
And then they lost the next week to the Commanders, 35-33, so they lost by 2.
Yep.
And then, the game on Sunday got away from them. That's the best. It just got away from them.
Way to say that. Yeah, but who did they play week 1?
The Raiders.
Yeah, right? Like, they're not playing good teams.
That's true.
Like, we're playing a Raiders team that has a horrendous defense and Jimmy G. Okay, so you're not expecting a lot. He's good for 17 points a game. That's Jimmy G, right? So he played on teams that had defenses, so his 17 points could win. But 17 to 20 points, that's what he produces, and that's not what wins in the NFL anymore. So then you look at the Commanders. It's a young team. They're still trying to figure stuff out. They have a decent defense. The offense isn't consistent. Can't close the deal. They play their first top flight team and get smacked.
They got hoisted up by their underwear on the flagpole.
Right? Like bad. So, I mean,
Devin Ashane.
I don't know that the Broncos are that team that has, they don't have a shot in their own division, let alone playoff.
I'm thinking more wild card, but that's going to take a big turnaround. But I also think Sean Payton's the kind of coach that could, architect that.
Well, and that's why I think it could be at the hands of changing a quarterback, because is he subconsciously damaging this team just because he has such an issue, or at least an appearance of such an issue with Wilson, right? Obviously, I'm not in the building. I don't know. But everything you see outwardly, it looks like he has a very real problem with Russell Wilson as a quarterback and as a person. So,
maybe he's just nagging him. He's just nagging him.
Public nagging.
Russell Wilson has a humiliation kink. That's what it is.
Anything's possible. But yeah, and who knows? Sometimes getting a guy that just fits the system better is the difference, even if they're not technically a better quarterback.
Yeah, it's
not that I think Stidham's the guy, because I don't. But
yeah.
But from what I've seen so far, I think Drew Lock would have had more success staying in that system.
Probably.
Because again, I don't know what it is, but they seem to be battling each other, and that doesn't equal wins. Even though, again, his stats aren't horrible, but the team just can't seem to get it together.
It's weird. Something happened last year. I don't know. They stepped on a monkey's paw, or broke a window, broke a mirror.
All of them. Every
All
one
of
of
the
the
mirrors.
stadiums.
There's no mirrors left in Denver, let alone Mile High.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm
Man, I don't know. I'm looking forward to next week though, because there's going to be some interesting games played from this division.
There is. It's we're getting into some good games. Offenses are now coming along. Obviously, we just saw one drop 70. But I'm excited to see what's going on.
Yeah. Well, right on, man. Tell everybody how they can find you. We've ran a little over time here.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, we're
I'm
good.
a talker.
No. It's perfect. I'm used to them bleeding over a little bit. That's why I was late to this one the first couple weeks.
Yeah, that time change helped you out. You could actually get to go use the restroom before.
Yep.
So you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Capronica. You can find me Friday nights on the BAM Sports Show. Look us up on Twitter at BAM Sports Show. We're on YouTube, the Yub Tubs. We're on Twitter. We're on Twitch as well. Friday nights, 9:15 Central. Three of the 5 of us are all Central based. So, but yeah, we have a good time.
Right on.
Come watch us. Come hang out.
Absolutely. And of course, be sure to like and subscribe. Check out their content. And other than that, we will let you get back to your night. Thanks again for coming in, Ryan.
Of course.
And till next week.